yo guys, Visionary Gen here, back with more Call of Duty Zombies content. Today's episode will be around Citadel Des Morts, arguably the best Black Ops Zombies map in all of this game, with an amazing map layout, incredible map lore and unique features, an amazing Easter egg from the story, elemental weapons, and boss fight. One of my personal favourite maps of all time. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. This is episode 14 of the Zombie series, with my previous episodes starting off with World at War, making my way through to the franchises, all the way through to Kino, in Black Ops 1, Origins of Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3 Zombies maps in themselves with Dire Eisendrache, Zetsuba Noshima, Goro Krovi, into Black Ops 4, into Cold War, and now into the Black Ops 6 series, with all of the previous episodes all linked in the description below and on this channel. So on that note, let's get right into things. So I guess first things first, as an overview, as I do in every single one of these episodes, what an incredible map this is, right? Having one of the best Easter egg experiences and boss fights in a very long time, to having a fun, replayable, and high round potential map layout. It makes for an incredible experience and an enjoyable map in itself to both play solo and also with friends. Now, just as like history of this map, I have only played this maybe 5 or 6 times overall, which I know sounds crazy considering I just said it's one of my favorite maps of all time, but that is because every time I've done this map, we tend to do the Easter egg quite easily and quite quickly. Although it is challenging, it is just a map that I really enjoy, and I look forward to coming back to every single time in itself, in its entirety. But it's a map that I did on the second ever attempt of trying to do the Easter egg. We even attempted to try and do it on the first day it officially came out. Not any like speedrunners or trying to do the first in the world or anything like that, because of course that takes a ridiculous amount of skill and dedication. But for the most part, we did just trying to follow along with all of the streams that were out at the time, because it was so hyped. Black Ops 6 Zombies at the time was just at the peak. It was so popular, and everyone was trying to play all of the Zombies maps after Terminus and Liberty Falls kicking off this game, which was really successful in itself. And this map, I remember playing it, really sort of enjoying it at the start as much as I did now, and I have done, and I think it's aged really well as the year has progressed. But for this map, we ended up doing it on the second ever attempt, which is the very next day after they'd already finished and completed the Easter egg and figured it out by themselves. The guides were out, and we ended up following it along and completing it first time, which means we completed the boss fight for the first time, which we'll get into in a short while, which was one of the best boss fights, as I said, in a very long time, with a unique sort of experience in its entirety, and a really cool, enjoyable experience with it being challenging, but also just really entertaining for the most part. Now, as a map, like I said, I think this is one of the best maps ever. I know that sounds quite far-fetched. I think it's a genuine A-tier map. Like, it's not an Origins, it's not a Dire Eisendrache or a Goro, in my opinion, nothing like that, in where I would hold sort of S-tier maps higher above, maybe the likes of Mob of the Dead and all that sort of stuff. But this is a high A-tier map, a map that has every single feature that you want it for it to be a good map, in terms of an incredible map layout, unique features in itself, elemental weapons. I am a simp for these. If you guys are new to this series, then you wouldn't be necessarily aware on what I've sort of talked about with the likes of the Origin staves or the Dire Eisendrache bows. But for having a map with elemental weapons already is a great tick in the box for me in the right direction. And comparing to the likes of the staves and the bows, I would say that these are like the third best elemental weapons we've ever had personally. And I know that kind of sounds crazy, because if you factor in the incantations and you factor in the charged up effects that these swords give, I genuinely think they are incredible. Although they're not as cool as the bows or the staves, which I do think in a league of their own at like the number 1 and number 2 of the best elemental weapons. But I guess that's a question I kind of wanted to ask you guys on: what would you say if it's not the, I guess it has to be the bows and the staves in everyone's top 3. I think that's almost unanimous. If it's not, I have no idea why, because you either didn't play those maps or you have something wrong with you, maybe, because I don't really get how they couldn't be the top 2 best unanimous, or at least top 3 on best elemental weapons ever. And then I guess it sort of begs the question on what is the third. I would say it's definitely arguable that the swords are the best. They are for me, but you could maybe say the Black Ops 4 Krakens, or the sort of the DIE Shockwaves, sort of the one weapon from Cold War in the Die Machine map, maybe something like that. But I don't really know if there's a better third weapon or third elemental choice than these swords and what they've produced and what they provided in this game. And then, of course, like I said, a challenging but more enjoyable Easter egg journey and story. And of course, the boss fight in itself, one of the best boss fights, having like a stone golem, the Guardian in itself, being right in the spawn arena, which you look at the starting statue, and then you come back and summon it and spawn it back in. Sorry, spoiler alert in case you guys aren't aware, but I would assume that anyone watching this by now or is already fully aware of all of these maps in Black Ops 6. And I just think that the boss fight in itself, the arena, the actual boss, the way it sort of is styled out, and the way you sort of have to destroy him with taking off his armor and all of that sort of stuff, I think it's just incredible. And we'll get onto it at the end of the video in terms of the actual boss fight in itself and the sequencing. But for the most part, I would say I think that this map is the best Black Ops 6 map that this game has produced. It's got lots of Dire Eisendrache vibes to it. And in case you guys said, if you're new to this series, I absolutely love that map too. It makes sense as to why I enjoy this map maybe a lot more than maybe other players. As the Dire Eisendrache, I made a video on this on episode 5 on the channel, which is linked in the description below. And there's a lot of similarities that I would say to it. I guess they are both castles, and just on like face value, you could already see the similarities. But also, I would like to say that of all of the 6 maps in Black Ops 6, this one definitely stands out for the most for me. Now, I do really like the likes of Terminus as well. That was actually last week's episode number 13, and I went into a lot more detail on that, which explains why I maybe sort of thought that was also an A-tier map, and also could be argued as the best map in Black Ops 6. An incredible throughout, as I said, a massive Easter egg guy myself. This map just ticks all of the right boxes, and like I said, the goal of this series, that just to remind anyone new, or if any sort of guys have been sticking along with this series in itself up to episode 14 now, the goal of this series is to complete every single Easter egg there is to do, whether it's on solo or on co-op. And in this is actually the first one in this series, which I'm actually playing co-op with my brother, and I actually have completed it on my own solo, which is somewhere around in this gameplay. You can see that I'm sometimes playing on my own, but for the most part, I am sort of completing every single Easter egg on every single map that there possibly is, all the way from World at War. Of course, they didn't have Easter eggs back then, but they started in Black Ops 1 with the likes of sort of Call of the Dead, Shangri-La, and I'm going to work my way through all the way through to Black Ops 7 when it launches. And currently we are episode 14, which is halfway through the Black Ops 6 maps, and we're going to work our through all the way through to Janus Towers, leading right up into Black Ops 7 in itself. And like I said, the ultimate goal for this, in order for me to actually produce the content, in order for me to share this gameplay with you guys and tick off this item off the list, this map, and complete it for this series, I have to have completed the Easter egg if it is applicable. If it's a map that doesn't have an Easter egg like the earlier videos in the series, then of course I will just talk about the map itself. The whole goal of this really is, for me, in case you guys, like I said, are new, it's like I want to archive all of the maps. I have played almost every zombie map ever. There are so many great maps that until you replay them again years later, you kind of forget all of the cool features about those maps. And with this being a new channel, with me being new to this whole scene of creating content, it's something I wanted to have on this channel on a weekly basis. Produce zombie content, a massive zombies guy. I'm really passionate, in case you guys already couldn't tell, and I want to have some sort of memory of doing all of these maps, completing them. That means boss fights and Easter eggs and all that sort of stuff, and also just to share my journey, I guess, as a long-time OG zombies fan. I played from right from the back of the day in World at War. If you haven't seen the first episode on the channel, it kind of summarizes it all. I won't go into detail on it again because you guys are obviously interested about this map if you clicked onto this video, but I thought it would definitely be relevant to mention the purpose of this series in case you guys are a bit confused and whether you thought this was a guide or what. This is not a guide or anything like that. I don't do any guides for Easter eggs or anything like that. I just want to share my story and maybe help inspire other players to get back into playing zombies, or any newer players who haven't played zombies, to see what these maps can actually provide and how fun they can really be, whether you're playing solo and you have no one to really play with, or if you want to sort of play with co-op and play with a group of friends and you've never really played and given zombies a real try. This is kind of like the purpose behind, other than the archive factor that I just mentioned, on inspiring others to actually play zombies again, and also maybe share my perspective. Like I said, as an OG zombies fan who played World at War back in the day and sort of worked my way all the way through, I have enjoyed zombies all the way through to this point, and I think Black Ops 6 definitely does not get the credit it deserves in its entirety. And for this map, it has a great layout, large map with interesting areas and features, all mostly used in the Easter egg in itself, including the tavern in Spawn, with cool little side Easter eggs such as the bartender Easter egg, where you'll get free perks and stuff like that. All of these little features just make the map so much better, as well as the map being so detailed with the whole castle element in itself. The high round potential in this map is great. I think this is definitely one of the best high round maps on the entire game on Black Ops 6, as well as I said, the elemental weapons and special features. Like, you have so many mobs on this game, or like bosses in it, and you have the parasites, the spiders, the doppelgangers, the amalgams, normal zombies, all of that sort of stuff. Just makes this map so much more challenging and enjoyable to achieve those high rounds, and more satisfying in itself. Now, the Easter egg, as I said, to remind you guys, this is not a guide. I'm not going to detail and break down how you do the Easter egg, in case you guys actually were looking at this video for that purpose. If you guys do need to look at some guides, there are some great ones out there from Mr. Dalek JD, Noah J, Mr. Rockwaffles, Codename Peter. All of those guides produce some really good and detailed guides in case you guys are interested, and that's what you clicked on this for. But if you guys aren't, I just want to quickly summarize the Easter egg in itself and just talk about how incredible this is and the journey you go on in order to actually get to the boss fight itself. So usually, as always, you always start the map by opening up, get to pack punch, all that sort of stuff. You then on this map have to speak to Kraft, who is down in a prison cell in itself, obtain the stamps from the Knights Buckethead zombies, then the swords in themselves, upgrade all 4 elemental swords respectively. The dragon one is usually the first one that most people do, which is the fire sword, where there are 3 braziers around the map. One is like in the actual spawn itself, one's near the spawn, and then one is right outside in the castle sort of battlements in itself. And then you just have to pretty much ignite yourself by holding square and then run back to the dragon sword, where you'll put it in above the staircase in the main section in the castle. And then the lion sword, which is the sword of light, where you effectively have to, so as soon as you pick up the sword, there are going to be glowing parasites. You have to basically melee the glowing parasites and then leave your mark on the door, which is down the left side of the map opposite Speedcola. You effectively melee the 4 parasites that are glowing individually, go and put the mark on the door, and then effectively you'll be allowed into the secret room. In the secret room, you'll be able to insert the lion sword into the mantelpiece in itself, and basically what will happen is a symbol will show, one of 4. You have to shoot the sort of corresponding symbol, and then do that for all 4 symbols, and then effectively it will complete, and then you'll be able to take the sword, and that is done. Then there is the stag sword. This is the lightning element, one of my personal favorite elements in all of any sort of game, especially in zombies. There are 3 parts around the map, or 3 key items. One you have to get and obtain using dead wire by shooting sort of an electrical circuit with the ammo mod. One is collected by the Deadshot perk machine that's just sitting outside the stable. And then the final one, when having the dragon sword equipped, there will be a zombie that randomly spawns. You need to kill that, and it will drop the gold piece that you have to pick up. And then effectively you have to take all the 3 of these key items up to the sort of castle battlements and go and place them into an urn. Effectively what it will do is it will start like a trial, or effectively it will start like a sequence of where zombies will spawn, unlimited zombies, and they'll just keep spawning. You have to basically kill them with the sword, and then as soon as your sword lights up with lightning, you have to go mark the urn and melee it, and what you do, once you do it 3 times, it will effectively upgrade the sword with the charged energy or the souls, and that is that sword done. And then finally we have the Raven sword, the Void sword, where you have to obtain one of 5 antiquities in the actual sort of lab area in itself, and then you have to take that one of those antiquities that you'll find, which is one of 5 different antiquities, which is random and changes every single game. Once you have this, you have to head back to spawn below the tavern and put this like antiquity skull, whatever it is, into the actual dial that you will see on the wall. And effectively, if you know the star signs, you have to sort of move the dials around, but of course on the guides they will explain them how you actually do it. And then once you've done that, it will basically spawn, like there's like a void patch, it will come out like these little orbs or these bubbles, and there'll be some void patches in the ground. You have to effectively lure them into the ground, and you have to do that 3 times for 3 different patches up the stairs in the actual tavern in itself. And that is the sword pretty much done. It will go back down, you can collect the sword, and that's all 4 swords done. Then you need to obtain the melee macchiato perk machine, punch a hole in the wall, reveal the symbols on the wall, which then correspond back to that tavern which we just talked about, where there are 6 bottles on sort of separate areas. You have to reveal them in a sequence from 1 to 6, memorize them, screenshot whatever it is, and then you need to go back to that blue wall, shoot them in a certain sequence in that same one in corresponding order, and then effectively you need to collect 4 pages next to the labs room in the sitting area room, collect those 4 pages and effectively put them into the wall. And what will happen is the book will then show you 4 eye symbols around the map which resemble 4 different corresponding traps. Collect the souls in a certain order that follow that sort of book in itself. Then you need to obtain 4 key items. There is the horseshoe, which effectively you go into the cannon and it will shoot you down into spawn and you'll slide across the roof. Then you'll see that this little horseshoe, it will spawn in a lightning cloud, one of 3 different areas. You collect the horseshoe, that is done. Then there's the Raz Ankh, which is where you have to basically set 3 pyres above the castle battlements on fire using like molotovs or whatever, and then it will spawn an elite zombie. You kill that elite zombie and all of the other zombies that spawn, and then you can collect the sort of Raz Ankh. Then there's the brooch, where there's sort of, I think it's 5 or 6 crystals. Shoot all of the crystals, line them all up, and they'll lead you into the labs room. Collect the brooch, and then you're onto the final one, which is the Talon. Go down the slide in the oubliette room next to the Pack-a-Punch. Once you're down the bottom of the slide, there'll be a raven sitting on the right side perched up. You shoot that, you shoot it again, and then you can grab the Talon in the spawn. You then need to go to complete the 4 rituals around the map with the 4 respective items that you've just obtained. Use the elemental swords, collect the incantations. Then you need to offer these swords up to the knights around in the actual knight's tomb. Collect the orb. That once you've done that, you use the incantation on all 4 of the knights. You then sort of inspect your weapon in front of it to offer up your swords, and then effectively they'll say yes, they will take them. You give them back, and then what happens is an orb will spawn in the center of the room. You get this orb, you go and place it in 4 final destinations, complete the challenges using the respective swords and their elements, and then you are able to reveal the opening in the wall up the stairs into the secret room. Collect the guardian key once the little cutscene has happened, take it to spawn, and you are ready to start the boss fight. Now this boss fight is so incredible, as I've said throughout many times in this video. It is one of the best I have done ever since Black Ops 4 with the likes of the Eye in Voyage of Despair, or even IX with the Mammoth. There's so many cool features about this boss fight, with the arena being amazing, with it being difficult, with it being challenging with regards to the mobs that spawn, the boss in itself with how powerful he can be with the fire and all that stuff. With the smaller the room gets, the later in the sort of boss fight you get. It's just all a super sort of enjoyable and incredible experience in itself. I have done it on 3 players, I've done it on 2 players, and I've done it on solo. It is one of the best boss fights I've done in a very long time. I really enjoyed this one, and I think it's sort of how it left a good taste in my mouth in regards to how this map sort of was played out, with the Easter egg being incredible. And just in summary, I think that this map is just so underrated in the grand scheme of things. I've seen players just say that this is not an A-tier map, and I would like to know what reasons people have. If you guys are one of them and you think that this map definitely is not that good, please just let me know. I have no issues with it or anything like that. I just want to know what the reason is, I guess, what people hold against this map, because I think it kind of ticks all those boxes, as I said throughout the video, with regards to map layout, high round potential, elemental weapons, boss fight, Easter egg, all of that sort of stuff. I think it has everything you need in order to be a great map, which, to remind you guys, is all relative. Every single person has their own list, and I appreciate that and respect anyone's list for what they deem it to be, whether it's based on high round maps like Kino or Doris back in the day. But if you're talking about like a set category or set criteria that we're all basing off of, then I would say that this map definitely belongs up there, because it does tick all those boxes. Now, if you're talking about, like I said, if it's nostalgia or just what you would say your personal favorites are based on experiences, cool moments, funny things, all that sort of stuff, then that is all personal. There is no issue with anyone's list in that regard, because it's all up to the person and what their list is. But of course, if we're basing on a set criteria, then as I've said numerous times throughout this video, I definitely think this map ticks those boxes, and I would like to know if there's any reasons as to why it doesn't. I think Black Ops 6 in itself is really underrated from what I've seen so far in the community. I think it's done a good job this year. Personally, we're in good hands, I think, going into Black Ops 7. This is not a Black Ops 7 video, so we won't go into that in too much more detail, but I think just generally Black Ops 6 does not get the respect it deserves, especially how the game started. I appreciate the later maps, maybe there's some debate in it, but I think that's how the game started, with Liberty Falls being in my episode 12 series, and then episode 13 being around Terminus, and then now this one with episode 14. I think we were started off the game really, really good. But I'll leave it with you guys to decide on what you guys think of this map and how it ranks. With that said, I think that's the video in itself. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, do not forget to like and subscribe, as I appreciate the support massively. If you have any comments about this map in itself, or playing Black Ops 6 Zombies, or even any suggestions about future videos you want to see on the channel, let me know down below in the comments, and I'll get right back to you. I'm Vision SGN. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.